read and react to headlines across the league, starting out in Jacksonville, where general manager James Gladstone spoke about the team's potential plans for Travis Hunter.
We still expect him to play on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you can take a peek at, expiring contracts on our roster and which side of the ball has more. Obviously, at this point, walking into the offseason, corner is a position that we have a few guys who are on expiring contracts. So by default, you can expect there to be a higher emphasis on his placement. The steps that he was taking made us feel good about what the back half of the year was going to be on both sides of the ball.
Acho, I keep hearing both sides of the ball there, but is the right approach for the Jags to prioritize Hunter on defense?
Absolutely, it's the right approach. Travis Hunter is a generational talent when it comes to playing corner. And yes, he won the Biletnikoff Award, which is the best receiver in college football. But what he can do at cornerback is just different. He has a natural feel, skill, and ability to play that position at a high level. Now, he should also have a role on offense based off his skill set there. But the focus, I believe, should be on corner.
Okay, let's move on to Indianapolis, where wide receiver Alec Pierce had this to say about fellow pending free agent Daniel Jones.
I was really impressed with him, and I think, they got to try and get him back here this year. I know he's a free agent, and I'm sure they're going to be doing whatever they can to bring him back. So, but I think that's, a sign for good future for him.
Some big decisions, but only one franchise tag. Graz, what more can you tell us about the Colts' plan for these two pending free agents?
Courtney, it's not unlike the situation Daniel Jones was in 3 years ago with the New York Giants when they were faced with the decision, do they franchise him, do they franchise Saquon Barkley? They ended up signing Daniel Jones to a long-term deal, franchising Saquon. None of that worked out. Neither one's there anymore. So the Colts need to make a better decision. They will want to bring back both of these players, but Daniel Jones most likely the priority, and that means if they cannot get a deal done with him by March 3rd, he's likely to be the one who gets franchised, which would make Alec Pierce an extremely attractive free agent option on the free agent wide receiver market. This is a guy that has averaged almost 22 yards per catch over the last 2 seasons, brings a rare element that a lot of offenses are going to be looking for. Colts would love to bring both of these guys back, but it likely requires them to get a long-term deal done with one of them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, some tough decisions to be made. In addition to the decisions on Daniel Jones, on Alec Pierce, the Colts will have to make roster improvements despite not owning their own first-round pick in either of the next 2 NFL drafts. Both of those picks, you'll remember, were sent to the Jets in November when Indy acquired all-pro cornerback Sauce Gardner. Acho, do you think the Colts should prioritize bringing back a quarterback? It seems like it's kind of an important position here as they go towards the offseason. Should that guy be Daniel Jones?
Absolutely. Daniel Jones had a resurgence last year in his career in Indianapolis, and the Colts should prioritize bringing him back, and he should prioritize staying in Indy. Sometimes as a player, you want to have coaches who believe in you. You want to have a system where you feel comfortable and where you can thrive, and that's what Daniel Jones found before the injury. That's why they were building so much around him, getting guys like Sauce Gardner and even drafting guys like Tyler Warren. And so for me, it should be a win-win situation. Daniel Jones comes back on a long-term deal, not a franchise tag, not a 1 year, but a long term, and then it's good for the team, but also good for Daniel Jones because he found a place that he can call home, at least for the next several years.
Sam, for me, I was very encouraged by how Daniel Jones played when he played, but again, this is in his entire career, he's played the entire season one time. So if I'm Indianapolis, I'm also keeping Anthony Richardson, who remarkably is only going to be 24 years old in May. I mean, there are guys coming out in this year's draft who are older than he is. He started 17 games, and look, it has not been perfect by any stretch, but the talent is undeniable. And when you look at what just happened in the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, which is the most recent example of quarterback development never being in a straight line, I would not give up on Anthony Richardson. If I was the Indianapolis Colts, I would do everything within reason to sign Daniel Jones as a starter, but keep developing Anthony Richardson. He's too young and too talented to let him walk away.
And it sets up well for that, right, Mike? I mean, if Daniel Jones needs recovery time in the offseason, that's a lot of practice reps, potentially preseason game reps for Anthony Richardson, which is what he needs right now. Needs to be on the field so the Colts can get a real look at him. Of course, he's coming off of an injury as well, an eye injury he suffered during the season last year. So the hope is that both these guys are as healthy as possible as soon as possible. I think that's the Colts' ideal situation. Keep seeing if you have something in Anthony Richardson while bringing back Daniel Jones in an effort to win now.
Live time now for some top stories. Graz, the Dolphins made some big moves yesterday. Take us through that, starting with wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill not going to be a Dolphin anymore. He's been released following his season-ending injury. He had 1 year, was set to make about $36 million this year. This was not a surprising move. The question now about Tyreek Hill will be where does he go in his career at age 32, coming off a significant knee injury, but it will not be in Miami, where he exits after 4 seasons. The Miami Dolphins also releasing edge rusher Bradley Chubb. These are moves designed to save the Dolphins' cap space and to kind of kickstart a roster rebuild under new GM John Eric Sullivan, new head coach Jeff Hafley. Dolphins probably have more cuts to make as the offseason goes along, but those are 2 of the big name ones they took care of yesterday. Of course, the biggest name still sitting out there, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, $54 million in fully guaranteed salary this season. That makes him a very difficult player to trade, especially after the Dolphins benched him late in the season for Quinn Ewers. If they were to release him, they would incur a $99.2 million dead money cap charge. So obviously, Courtney, they would rather trade him if they can. The question is there someone out there who's interested in how much of that $54 million are the Dolphins going to have to pay to make a trade work?
That is a substantial dead cap number. We know the decision to release both Hill and Chubb, as Graz mentioned, reflects this new direction that the team's going. First-year general manager John Eric Sullivan and first-year head coach Jeff Hafley now at the helm. Miami now has just under $15 million in projected cap space, and they're going to be drafting 11th overall in April. So, Mike T, the Dolphins are very clearly tearing this thing down and starting the rebuild. Is that the right approach?
Yeah, absolutely. As Graz mentioned, new GM and John Eric Sullivan, new head coach and Jeff Hafley, take it down to the studs, eat the cap, all those cap charges in year 1, and then hit the ground running in year 2. There are some foundational pieces here, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Paul, amongst others, but the players they're letting go are ones that have either been injured, aging, production's been an issue. So I think these are all the right decisions, and this is the right timeline.
And I love the idea, too, of keeping with your current quarterback on the roster in Quinn Ewers. I know there's a lot of talk about maybe going to draft somebody, but Quinn Ewers got a chance to get some starts as a rookie last season, and he looked better, especially in some of the later starts. Part 1. Part 2, you're going through a rebuild. You might have the quarterback of the future on your roster. Part 3, you could also decide to bring in a veteran, a guy like Kirk Cousins, to be a 1-year, somewhat of a stopgap, a guy who can guide a young quarterback, a guy who might have a great season in him, and that rebuild may happen faster than you expect. And so for me, I look at a guy who's already on the roster like Quinn Ewers and giving him another opportunity after a year of watching and learning under Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa. Now you get a chance to take off running.
Hey, one thing about Sam.
Those Texas guys always stick together. Yeah. Quinn Ewers, Sam Acho, obviously a big backer there of his chances in Miami. Look, I think he's going to be a possible option for them. I don't think there's any doubt of that. But, yeah, they will add to that room and make sure that they're covered as they look ahead to a future that's going to really depend on where they settle and what they do at the quarterback position. But, yeah, Ewers is there. He got some good exposure end of last year. What we don't know yet is what the incoming administration thinks of him. We'll find out a little bit more as we see their quarterback plan unfold. But remember, that Tua dead money is going to cost, and it's going to factor. The Dolphins, any quarterback solution they pursue this offseason is going to have to be cheap.
$99 million. Wow.
Yeah. Graz, you beat me to it. I mean, the other Texas player that I mentioned was DeMario Overshown. I can't wait till we hear about Earl Campbell in the next block.
Time now to check out the social scene where we scroll through our timeline and see what players are up to online following the release of Tyreek Hill. His former Chiefs teammate Chris Jones posted on X that it's potentially time for Hill to return to Kansas City. It's important to note that Hill's going to be spending a good portion of this year recovering from a gruesome injury into his left knee that happened during the season in September. Graz, do you think a reunion is the right option for Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City?
Well, I think theoretically, sure. I mean, it would be a great story, and it would be something the Chiefs have lacked. The question is, like, what is Tyreek Hill going to be and when? He hinted online yesterday that he might still need another surgery. We don't know when he's going to be ready to return to play. We don't honestly know if he ever is. He turns 32 in a couple of weeks. So I think teams are going to want to see him healthy and figure out where he stands in terms of regaining that elite speed that made him such a special player for such a long time. I could look foolish if someone signs him to a low-cost, incentive-laden deal here in the next couple of weeks, but I would expect this market to take a little while to develop as teams try to get a handle on just how healthy he is and when he could be back to full strength.
You know, Grouse, one of the things that's really important from a front office perspective, and I've made this mistake in the past, is you want to pay a player for what they're going to do, not what they've done. And Tyreek Hill's explosiveness is so intoxicating. And what I would do is sign him to a 2-year deal. Year one would be very minimal with a lot of incentives, but I want to make sure I capture that second year because it's probably going to take him 2 years to get back to where he is, which is obviously one of the best in the league. It's a very serious injury. You mentioned that, you know, there could be another surgery, so you want to proceed with caution and, again, try to get that second year if at all possible because you don't want to rehab him, Courtney, and then have him go play someplace else in 2027 and be the old Tyreek Hill.
All right, elsewhere on the gram, free agent receiver Hollywood Brown posted on his story a video of him in a Ravens uniform. AI is fun. Sam, yesterday, I think it was you who said you liked the idea of Romeo Doubs to the Ravens. What about Hollywood Brown? Would he be a good fit in this Baltimore offense?
I don't love the reunion. I think obviously you look at what Zay Flowers is able to do in the slot and also outside being a speed guy. I go for a guy like Dobbs because of his size, right? You have a guy like Mark Andrews on the inside. Give another big-bodied receiver for Lamar Jackson. I understand Hollywood Brown spent time in Baltimore. He started his career there. He went to Kansas City, had success there. Reunions don't always work out. And I understand there's a new regime as well, but I don't like the idea of Hollywood Brown going back to Baltimore. I still lean towards a guy like Romeo Doubs.
Yeah, Sam, I totally agree. Like when you think about building a receiver group, you want to look at like a basketball team, you know, different sizes. And to me, maybe a guy like Alec Pierce, or if you go in the draft, someone like Denzel Boston, someone who has physicality, you know, on the other side of Zay Flowers, who's very good, but he's undersized. So I don't see those guys being complementary, and I agree there's better fit.